Hello everybody, welcome to Midwest Imagery. I want to thank you for all of your questions. I picked one for this week's, which is going to be interesting and easy to do. Just like all these tricks that I'm showing you are pretty straightforward. This one assumes that we are doing a group portrait or portrait of a single subject, and that person cannot keep their eyes open. There's one in every crowd, and you know who you are. But that's okay, because we can fix that in most cases. And I'm going to show you here just how easy it is. But the idea is that we always strive to get the exposure as close as possible in Photoshop, so that means that we don't have to spend a whole lot of extra time fixing images in post-processing. This method will use a couple of different layers and some layer masking and a couple of different tools in Photoshop. So let me get my screen set up, and I will be back in just a minute to show you how easy it is to open somebody's eyes in Photoshop. Okay, I'm back, and we can see that I have a couple of thumbnails in the file browser called Bridge, and I'm going to select both of these, and I'll press the Command key to click on the second one. So one has the eyes open, one has the eyes closed, and I'm going to open them both at the same time into Photoshop by pressing the Return key, and this opens us into the Adobe Camera Raw interface. Since these are raw files, they open right into Camera Raw. Now I'm going to hold my Command key down one more time and select this thumbnail so that the changes that I do to this image will both happen at the same time to both images. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, and first I'm going to see what does Photoshop think it should look like. So I'm going to click on this auto button and see what does Photoshop think it should look like. And I'm going to click it again and see what, I kind of like this one better. So going back over to these two thumbnails, making sure they're both activated, I'm just going to keep the settings the way they are and press this open button. And this will open both of these files in Photoshop at the same time. There's eyes open, eyes closed. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here again, Command plus, get to 100%, and then I'm going to select my lasso tool, which is the letter L on your keyboard, or it's also the third tool down from the top in your toolbox. There's tools nested in here, so if you right click you can see these different tools that are nested, but we just want this lasso tool right here, so I'm going to click on that, and now you see that my cursor is a little lasso. What I'm going to do is draw a circle around here by clicking and holding the click and just drawing a big circle. I want to get a fairly generous selection around here so I get some landmarks that we can align with. That looks really good. And I'm going to put this selection on its own layer by using the keyboard shortcut Command J. Now here is our camera left eye. If I turn off the background layer, we see there's our eyeball. Turn the background layer back on, and I'm going to change the name of this layer by double clicking on the words layer 1 to left. I'm going back to the background layer and doing the same thing, clicking and holding, and then I'm just drawing a fairly generous circle around that right eye, putting that on its own layer by using the keyboard shortcut of Command J, changing the name of this layer by double clicking on these word layer 1 to right. And there's both of our eyes. If I turn off the background layer by clicking on the eyeball right next to the layer thumbnail, we see both of our eyeballs. Now we want to move both of these layers into this file. So a couple ways that we can do this. Press the Command key to select both of these layers, and then when we come into this image and hold down the Command key, our cursor changes to the Move tool. Now we can click and drag both of those layers up onto this tab. This tab opens. We've still clicked and holding. We drag back down into the general area of the eyes. And oh, that was pretty close. So I'm going to zoom in here again. That was actually pretty close. I think we're good. This looks pretty good. Well, one more step I'm going to do is just lower the opacity to see how my alignment worked out. I'm going to say that's pretty close. So I'm going to now put the left eye layer and the right eye layer into a group. And since they are both selected right now, I'm just going to press Command G and change the group name to Eyes. Now we see that both of our eyes are in the same group. And what this does for me is allows me to work on them both at the same time. Especially since we're going to put a layer mask on this group, so it will affect both of them at the same time. I'm going to use a white layer mask, which doesn't hide any of the changes we did. We just have to kind of hide some of them with a brush. So the layer mask icon is the third one from the left at the bottom of the layers panel. It's a rectangle with a black circle in the middle. And with your cursor hovered on it, you can see it says Add Layer Mask, which is what we want to do. Now we need a brush. We are on a white layer mask, so we had to paint with a black brush. And we can see over here that my foreground color is already black, so that's good. And if it wasn't, let's say it was some different color like that, then we simply press the letter D to set them to the default, and then the letter X to swap them. Keep pressing X, it goes back and forth. You can also use this curved arrow right here to change them. Now we've got a black foreground color, we've got a white layer mask. I just need to get my brush tool. And the brush tool is right here, and it's also the letter B on your keyboard. And now I have my brush tool, and we can change the size of the brush by using the bracket keys. The right bracket key makes it bigger, the left bracket key makes it smaller. I'm going to zoom in pretty tight here. Command plus, get me in tight. And I'm just going to start painting all of the edges of this selection so that we don't see that anymore. I'm probably going to use her same eyebrow. Kind of like that. Maybe better like that. And then I'm going over to the right eye and doing the same thing. You notice that I went back here and painted this back in after I overpainted it. And all I did here is press my letter X to swap the foreground and background color, because if we're painting with white on a white layer mask that acts as an eraser. I'll demonstrate. Now I'm painting with white, and I'm bringing back in some of that layer mask. Like that. All the stuff that I don't need over here out. And what I'm going to do is just press the letter X, changes my foreground color to white. And I'm going to go back over, and I'm going to say that we are pretty close. Zoom back out, and that's pretty much it. This is how we can open some eyes up. And the really cool part about this now is we can make her blink. We can also make just one eye blink, or the other eye blink. But that's pretty much it. So we went from this to this with just a couple of layers, a selection tool, and a layer mask and a brush. And that's pretty much it. We go from eyes closed to eyes opened. And that's going to wrap this one up. I'm going to shut my screen down, and I'll be right back. Okay, and that's how simple it is to open eyes in Photoshop using just a couple of layers, a couple of tools, and a layer mask. And that's going to wrap it up for today. But before I go, I want to thank you for all of your questions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.